Thank you all for tuning in to another edition of Outside the Shop with me, your host, Daryl D. Lane, as always, where I get to talk about everything that I normally don't get the chance to talk about on my regular sports podcast, Barbershop Sports Talk, which you guys can all find on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, or however you listen to your podcast, whichever apps you use. And subscribe to the YouTube channel if you are listening via YouTube, and give a like, comment, and subscribe. And definitely like the comments when I'm doing these streams. So if you have any comments, questions, appreciate those. Keep those coming. I love it. Check on the description below. Some YouTube links. A podcast that I did last night with my good friend Ben Levy. Really exciting, really fun. Enjoy doing this stuff with Ben. The other Ben that I have on my podcast, not Ben Karen, but big Texas fan. So we talk Texas, Oklahoma, the Red River rivalry. Also Texas and Oklahoma moving from the Big 12 to the SEC. We dived into NFL quarterbacks, Brady, Josh Allen, Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, kind of talked about that, why people say certain quarterbacks are elevated in status above others. And we got into the Bills versus Chiefs game that will be on Sunday night. And all of you guys should be watching Solo Stage, Chris Collinsworth, Al Michaels. It's going to be super entertaining. The Bills go to the Chiefs Kingdom. I'm excited as a Buffalo Bills native and fan. So let's start with this for the show today. Urban Meyer says he needs to regain Jaguar players' trust after Barr video. So, and I've kind of come to this conclusion with Urban. He's a clown. He's a fraud. Now, I was listening to some takes about this, and throughout the holistic part of this, Urban didn't do anything that wrong. He didn't kill anybody. I mean, he did infidelity, which is morally wrong, and he kind of looked like an idiot, doing it in a poorly timed manner and not paying attention to the public eye. But the biggest issue with this is when you're supposed to be a leader of men and your players see that, that's the issue, right? The general can never show weakness in front of the troops, right? That's the issue. You can't tell players that we're all in on football when you don't seem all in on football yourself. And sometimes perception becomes reality. Urban could have been breaking down game film before he got there, but the thing is, you saw him there at that moment, and it's not a good look. Imagery is everything in this world. It is everything. And college is different from the NFL, too. Urban can get away with that when he's in Columbus, when he's with the Gators in Florida, when he's in the Swamp, right? Because he's winning all the time. These are young kids, they're impressionable. They're probably doing the same thing that bars do. But when you're talking about grown men with wives, with kids, paying mortgages, just handling their business, and then you see that, and then that guy is telling you what to do, it comes off as a little suspect. And it makes it harder to earn respect because respect is earned in the NFL. Nobody just gives you respect. Well, I think Tom Brady is respected because he's done it again and again and again over the course of 2 decades. Why is Aaron Rodgers respected? Why is Patrick Mahomes respected? If you look at guys, Trey Lance isn't respected. Zach Wilson isn't respected. Trevor Lawrence isn't respected. Why is Josh Allen now starting to become respected in this league? Because he's earning it. The NFL is a league where you have to earn your way. Respect is given. It's not earned. No, respect is earned. It's not given. Excuse me. I used the wrong analogy. Respect is earned. It's not given to anybody, no matter how many national championships Urban Meyer won. So now I want to go to this. So Panthers get Stephon Gilmore. And I'm going to get us some water really quickly. Stephon Gilmore is going to the Panthers. Big pickup. The Panthers have one of the best defenses in all of football. J.C. Horn is out for the season, right? I think he's out for the season. So he's going to be another guy that they can have in the secondary. Stephon Gilmore is one of the 5 to 10 best corners in all of football. Smart player, played for the Buffalo Bills, was pretty good. Took it up a whole nother level when he went to the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick, right? So special player. And I think this is going to help the Carolina Panthers. And again, we're talking about Carolina. They're going to have one of the top 3 defenses in the NFL. And people can say a lot of stuff about Sam Darnold, but here's what I'm going to tell you. They have weapons at the running back position, wide receiver position, and they have a hell of a defense. So they're going to be in a lot of games. And all Sam Darnold has to do is not F it up. That's all he has to do. And the Panthers are going to go pretty far. So Justin Fields, it's just been announced. Matt Nagy announced that he is going to be the starter. Matt Nagy should be another guy. As I just called Urban a clown and a fraud, Matt Nagy might be a clown and a fraud. We went from Andy Dalton starting because of a quote-unquote promise, even though, like I said, this is the NFL. You earn respect. It's not given, right? And you do a promise like this is in high school football, this is in college football, this is in rec league, this is professional. And you're talking about, oh, I promised Andy Dalton he would start. Then Andy Dalton's out, Justin's in, has a bad game or whatever. Then he's like, either Andy can start, Nick Foles can start, or Justin can start. Then after the game, he's like, Andy Dalton's still our starter. And now we go back to Justin Fields. What is with all that BS? I just don't understand it. I think Matt Nagy is butchering this situation. I don't know what's going on in their practices. Maybe Justin Fields has been getting the first team reps this whole time. But just why lie to the media about it? People can say competitive advantage, right? But here's the thing with competitive advantage. Like, at the end of the day, the Bears aren't so good. Like, just let them who's starting. Like, to Tampa need to be like, oh, Tom might not start. Oh, Mahomes might not start. Josh Allen might not start because it gives us a competitive advantage. Like, that's BS. It's the team taking out maybe 10 minutes to prepare for somebody else, okay? 10 minutes. You really want to waste another guy's 10 minutes? You think that's going to be the deciding factor in a football game, right? No. Teams have had to prepare for Drew Brees and Taysom Hill for the last 5 years. Well, how many Super Bowls the Saints win? None. So, like, this whole, like, we want them prepared, all this, it's all BS. And to me, it's just, Matt Nagy's just being difficult. And I don't understand it. I think it's silly, stupid move as a head football coach. So, I want to get to the NBA. So, Ben Simmons, it's looking like now he might come back to the Philadelphia 76ers because, as I'm looking at this, they are not going to pay him his $8.25 million that's in escrow. He can get fined up to like $7 million, something like that, if he misses the first month of the regular season, and he can get fined $1 million in fines if he's not playing the preseason. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. I just looked this up. His net worth is $6 million. I don't think that's correct, but let's look at that. Like 17 million. Math is not great, but like 8, so like that's a lot of money. So it looks like he might come back. I think this could be a very tenuous and toxic situation if you bring Ben Simmons back under these circumstances. I don't think it's ideal for anyone in this situation at all. So it looks like he possibly could come back. At the end of the day, I don't know, but if he does, it's going to be very interesting indeed. So reports on Kyrie Irving, the Nets are hesitant about him getting the vaccine. Before, it seemed like they were more optimistic that he would. Now it's kind of dimming, right? I do want to read this. So this is a report. I'm getting this up right now, folks, from Adrian Wojnarowski. And first, I just want to say this, guys. Anything Adrian Wojnarowski says, you take it to the bank. Like, there's a lot of people who source stuff and say stuff. Like, if Skip Bayless is saying something, Colin Cowherd's saying something, or one of these talking heads, even Stephen A. Smith, right? Like, you can kind of take that for what you will. If Adrian Wojnarowski is saying something, or a guy like Adam Schefter, like, take it to the bank, right? Like, Adrian Wojnarowski is plugged in this league as anybody. He talks to coaches. He talks to assistant coaches. He talks to GMs. He talks to owners. I guarantee you can get a hold of most players, get a hold of any agent. So this guy knows what's going on. He's very plugged into league circles. So anything he says, you kind of say, he's getting it. And he's getting it from a relatively credible source and somebody who's very close to the situation. So this is what Adrian Wojnarowski said. Sources with, and Brian Windhorst is part of this report too, the Brooklyn Nets remain unclear on all-star guard Kyrie Irving's ultimate intentions to get vaccinated and have made no decision on whether the organization will accommodate him as a part-time player this season. Story soon on ESPN. Kevin Durant says he's envisioning Kyrie Irving playing. He's not too concerned. But the fact that Adrian is getting this information, that tells me that maybe it's Sean Marks, maybe it's Steve Nash, maybe it's somebody in the Nets organization that knows something, and they're kind of like, we don't know. And I think that's the big issue. The Nets don't know. The employer doesn't know. The people in leadership position don't know what Kyrie's going to do. It doesn't seem even Kevin Durant truly knows. It's like he thinks, but he doesn't know. And if Kyrie's really, and they've talked about him being like a part-time player, to me, that's just crazy to imagine Kyrie Irving being a part-time player if that really were to happen. But it looks like we could be going that way. So lastly, on NBA.com, 2021-2022 GM survey. I'm going to give you some of this stuff. So which team will win the 2022 NBA championship? The Brooklyn Nets were number one at 72%, the Lakers 17%, the Bucks at 10%. Last year, by the way, the Lakers were first with 81%. I think this is about right. Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant, best big three, super talented team. The Bucks won the championship, and Giannis and the Bucks had no clue before Kyrie and James Harden both got hurt in that series. They have some other stuff that I think is very interesting in terms of Western Conference rankings. They have the Lakers finishing as the 1 seed, Brooklyn finishing as the 1 seed, highest probability. I think the Lakers finishing as the 1 seed could be a little off base. I think we possibly could see LeBron rest a little bit more. He's older. I mean, the guy has slowed down at some point. Also, Anthony Davis, he gets nicked and knacked throughout the season. Russell Westbrook can help alleviate that, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers weren't the 1 seed. The Bucks could be interesting in terms of them being the 1 seed. The Bucks got some votes because the Brooklyn Nets were at 83% for first place. The Bucks were at 17%. So, I think the percentages should be a little bit closer. Like, it's not like I see the Nets going balls to the walls the whole time. And also, I don't know if the survey is taking into account the fact that Kyrie Irving will not be, right now, cannot play for home games for the Brooklyn Nets. Let's talk about who's going to win MVP. Kevin Durant at 37%, Luka Doncic at 33%, Giannis Antetokounmpo at 13%, Joel Embiid at 7%, James Harden at 7%, Steph Curry at 3%. Giannis was the winner last year at 32%, which is very weird because that means they would have predicted him to win 3 straight MVPs, which I don't think has happened since like Larry Bird or something crazy like that. Kevin Durant, to me, not number 1. I think he is the best player in all of basketball, but just because you're the best player doesn't mean you're going to be the MVP. Michael Jordan was the best player in basketball for many years, did not get MVP every year. LeBron James, best player in basketball for many years, did not get MVP every year. Derrick Rose won the MVP in 2011. He wasn't a top 5 player in the NBA. I thought Kobe Bryant was the best player for like a 5-year stretch, didn't win MVP one of those years, right? So it all depends. I think Luka would be a very nice bet. Because I could see Dallas being a fun story, a really good regular season team, and Luka's going to put up the stats and the numbers to get the award. Possibly Joel Embiid, right? If they can get it together with Ben Simmons and they start playing well again, I could see that as well. And players you want to start your franchise with, this is what I'll end it on in terms of the survey stuff. And but I'll do the rest of this. Maybe we'll talk about the rest of it tomorrow, but we're going a little long, so I'll kind of cut it here. But which player would you want to start a franchise with? 43% was Luka, 40% was Giannis. Also receiving votes were Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, LeBron, Nikola Jokic, stuff like that. I think that Giannis should be number 1. Luka should not be number 1. I don't understand that. I think this is like off base. Also, I think Nikola Jokic should be getting more votes than he is. I don't think people realize Nikola Jokic is arguably one of the 5 best players in all of basketball. And he makes players better. Also, something that people talk about LeBron does, Luka does. He's a one-man show. Super special, super spectacular what he did with his MVP campaign this year. But Giannis should be over Luka as a player you want to start your franchise with. He has that dog, better defensive player. I mean, Luka's a better offensive player in totality, but Giannis isn't far behind. What was he average? 28 points per game or whatever. You can win multiple playoff series with them, as you've seen, something we have not seen from Luka Doncic. So I don't understand why you'd rather have Luka as opposed to Giannis. And also, Luka's kind of looking at possibly maybe with some other teams, possibly, while Giannis is stayed loyal to the soil. Milwaukee's the only place he wants to play. So that's also another thing to take into account. The guy might not dip. That's all we have for this edition of Outside the Shop. Check on the description below if you want to see some YouTube links. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Have a great day, everybody, and God bless.